Good to see you, kid. What can I do for you?
Going back to school made me realize it's the wrong place for me right now.
Hey,
I need to be out there. You need to start calling on me again.
you think I haven't been watching your early morning outings?
That's why I need you.
Hold on.
I'm better, I'm stronger, I'm ready.
No, you're not. You're not, Mark.
What? What do you mean? I need to do more.
It's only been a month, Mark. But you also went through an emotional tumble. You can't do that if you don't graduate.
I can save lives.
You did. You saved a ton of them.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my Invincible Season 2, Episode 1 opening scene video. They dropped one of the opening scenes from the episode. There's a bunch of Easter eggs here, so I'll explain what's going on, and I'll be doing weekly episode videos when it does start in a couple days. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all those. It is going to be awesome. It is probably one of the best superhero series next to The Boys. I would argue that it's actually better than a lot of Marvel stuff that's been coming out recently, too. They're even doing a live-action Invincible movie, but Robert Kirkman didn't say when that's actually going to happen. I'm assuming it's going to be at least a couple of years. Like, Jeffrey Dean Morgan seemed like he was teasing a big Invincible role, but I think that's going to be for the animated series in a future season, like for Season 3. Really hoping he winds up playing a version of Thragg, or maybe Conquest. He could do either. Like, he would be amazing as any of those characters. And even though J.K. Simmons is amazing as Omni-Man on the show, Jeffrey Dean Morgan would also make a badass version of live-action Omni-Man. But the whole idea in this clip here, as you could probably tell, is the specter of Omni-Man looms large. Like, this is all about the aftermath of what happens after he left the planet. A little bit of time has gone by, not that much. And it's basically Mark trying to get Cecil to let him start going out on officially sanctioned missions again because he wants to work with the Global Defense Agency. Cecil confirming that they've also been watching him since the events of Season 1 when Omni-Man outed his true mission to the entire world and went on a rampage. And everybody has just kind of been worried about what might happen next. Cecil basically tells him that he's still traumatized by his father's betrayal, learning the full truth about his Viltrumite heritage. Like, it was all a big info dump. A lot happened in that finale for Mark. Basically, he was created with the purpose of taking over the world. Like, that's the whole reason why he exists. And Cecil is basically trying to tell him to, like, back up a second and just take some time to process that. And even though it seems like Cecil doesn't trust him because of Omni-Man's revelation, you would expect him to not trust Mark. Everyone, including the Guardians of the Globe, all the active heroes right now serving the Global Defense Agency, are very wary of him. But if it's not clear, like they're trying to get across during this scene here, that Cecil is kind of on Mark's side. He's kind of rooting for him to be true when he says he's not going to turn out like his father. He's hopeful, but Cecil is not a fool. That's why he'd been developing all those contingency plans for Omni-Man just in case things went off the rails with him since he came to the planet. There were all those scenes during Season 1 where they were trying to see if they could affect Viltrumite cells. Like, are there anything that we can do? And essentially, the closest he got to a deterrent to Viltrumites were the Reanimen, which they had upgraded again at the end of the season. Like, they gotten a little bit better through the course of the season. Like, okay, we have ones that are pretty tough, but he still fought them off during the finale until they upgraded them even more in the post-credit scene. There are a couple other heroes out there that are super powerful, but none of them are nearly as powerful as Mark, with a few exceptions. Like Battle Beast is still more powerful than him. So right now, there aren't a lot of things the Global Defense Agency has that could affect Mark if he went off the rails too, which is why everyone's so wary. They've basically been watching him like a hawk since the events of Season 1. The nightly adventures that he references are Invincible, going out each night since Omni-Man left, trying to save people, take down random villains, proving to himself and the rest of the world that he's still a hero. He wants to atone for some of what happened. Getting into the weeds a little bit with power scaling in the Invincible universe, like just talking about planet Earth right now in the story when things pick up. Battle Beast is more powerful than him. He's not quite as strong as Omni-Man was, but he's still stronger than everyone else. The reason why he's not quite as strong as Omni-Man is for a couple of different reasons. Like, technically, he's only half Viltrumite, and going with the whole Superman Kryptonian parody that the Viltrumites are supposed to serve as. Normally, you'd expect people who are 100% Viltrumite to be even more powerful, like a whole Superboy-Superman analogy. Like, Superboy will never be quite as powerful as Superman because he's only half of Superman's DNA. But one of the differences between Viltrumites and Kryptonians that they're meant to parody is that in the Invincible universe, the way they explain Viltrumite DNA is that it's so strong, it actually overpowers other DNA it gets mixed with. So even though Mark is born half human, half Viltrumite, the Viltrumite portion of his DNA essentially dominates his body, so that he could theoretically become almost as strong as a full Viltrumite. Like, it's not a weakness that he's half human. Now, within their race, though, there are people who are 100% Viltrumite who have vastly different power levels than each other because it's a little bit like real-life bodybuilders. There's really no such thing as like 100% power levels for Viltrumites. When you're a Viltrumite, you can continue to train your body and just get stronger and stronger, and because they're nigh immortal, their aging process continues to slow the older they get. For example, Omni-Man is almost 2,000 years old when he comes to planet Earth, before Mark is ever born. So unless Viltrumites are killed in battle, they could theoretically live for hundreds of thousands of years, if not more, and just continue to train and get stronger and stronger and stronger. So the idea is that right now when the story picks up, Mark has just hit maturity, like his powers have just kicked in. The longer he lives, the stronger he'll get. An Omni-Man has just had 2,000 years to continue to train and get stronger and stronger and stronger. The same is true for all the other Viltrumites, like Thragg, for example, who's meant to be the most powerful Viltrumite in the universe, like way more powerful than Omni-Man. That's mostly because amongst Viltrumites, Thragg has trained his body the longest, and he was born stronger at the beginning. Like, he started out stronger, bigger, and then trained harder for longer than most Viltrumites. Kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger was born naturally much bigger with much more potential for power than a lot of other bodybuilders. So theoretically, there's no limit to how powerful Viltrumites, Mark, for example, Invincible, could potentially get. When Cecil mentions that Mark should take more time to process his trauma with his mother, they're still shaken by what happened. In his original desire to go to college with Amber, who's still going out with him at the beginning of the season, that's stuff that he wanted to do before Omni-Man revealed the truth to him in the season 1 finale. Like, he used to want to go to college with his girlfriend. Now, not so much. Now he's completely obsessed with proving to the world that he's still a hero. Some of the changes the showrunner said that they made to the original comic book storyline was mostly to expand the story with extra material for some of the supporting characters because the episodes are hour long instead of just being half-hour long like traditional animated episodes. The original comic book isn't that long, so they just have way more extra room to deal with storylines for other characters that they didn't in the original comic book. So Robert Kirkman has been working with them to expand the story for these other characters. One of the best examples of that is that Adam-Eve episode. Expect them to do more of that in future years. In the original comic book, when the events of Season 2 pick up, the story mostly just follows Invincible as he's trying to clean up the messes left over from the Season 1 finale, like all the villains they tease at the end of Season 1 in that tag scene. You see some of them in the trailer. And during the original comic book, you didn't see too much of what happened with the aftermath and his mother, Amber, the others, like how they dealt with everything that happened with Omni-Man. Mostly they just plow right into the Angstrom Levy storyline. He's the main villain, at least for the first half of Season 2. They're only releasing the first 4 episodes, and then the second 4, like the second half of the season, will be sometime early next year. But his storyline is going to be straight out of the comics, but like I said, expanded just a little bit from what it was in the original comics. They said they're going to spend a little more time in this first half of the season with his mother in his personal relationships, like the other characters, Adam, Eve, the new version of the Guardians of the Globe, just explaining how they deal with things after Omni-Man leaves the planet. And if it wasn't clear that Guardians of the Globe team still exists, they just cycled the roster. Cecil just put new members on the team. They kind of covered that during Season 1. That's what all the tryouts were about. At the time, Omni-Man was still hiding his true plan, but he forbid Invincible from trying out for the team because he secretly planned to have him take over the planet. The whole idea is that Omni-Man planned to set him up as the new ruler of the planet per Viltrumite's new methods for conquering other worlds. Omni-Man would just leave, go to another planet, and do the exact same thing over and over again until, theoretically he died hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years later. That's how the Viltrumites essentially conquer the rest of the universe with a very small number of Viltrumites currently existing. The whole difference with the Angstrom Levy storyline in the first half of the season is that he's like the first big villain that Mark faces. It's sort of like a crucible for him, kind of like a test for him to prove that he means what he says when he says he wants to be a hero. It's also the opportunity for him to see what things were like in an alternate universe because Angstrom Levy gets into the whole multiverse of it all, showing him another reality where Mark did side with his father and help take over the planet. Like, this is what things would look like had you actually agreed with your father and joined the other Viltrumites. So it's meant to catalyze Invincible in his beliefs that he wants to protect Earth and be its main hero. Like, if he doesn't do that, this is what will happen. Like, things will go really, really bad. My full episode 1 video will post Friday. I don't know if they're going to release just the first episode or the first 2 episodes. Whatever they wind up releasing, I'll do a video for it. They're supposed to release most of them on a weekly basis, though. My Loki Season 2 Episode 5 video will also post on Friday, and my Boys Gen V finale video will probably have to post on Saturday. I don't think I can actually do like 3 big episode videos in a single day. That's just like a little too much. Make sure you enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that, and click here for my full Invincible Season 2 trailer video and Easter eggs, and click here for my Loki Season 2 Episode 5 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.